All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Blackhawk Technical College with the last kind of pre-lecture that I'm going to be doing for the 152, 167 Ajax and JavaScript website development and 152, 164 design and implementation projects classes. Both classes, again, we're using the same book, and that's the SAM's Teach Yourself AngularJS, JavaScript, and jQuery all in one. So I'm going over Chapter 11 right now. It's a short chapter, and as you can see there, we only have 3 objectives: adding timers to web pages, getting and setting cookies, and creating pop-ups. All right. So as they mentioned, JavaScript provides a rich set of objects and functions that allow you to access all sorts of different information. The first part of the lesson talks about the screen, window, location, and history objects. The second part talks about cookies, pop-ups, and timers. All right, for the screen object, as mentioned down on the bottom, or I guess on the top for us, of page 304, here are the full set of properties available on the screen object. See, there aren't a whole heck of a lot of them. All right. And most of them, hopefully, by just taking a look at their names and the description, they make sense. All right. The window object, which is next there, as mentioned, the window object provides access to the browser window, allowing you to get information such as dimensions and position of the browser window. So there's different properties that you can get, and they're shown right there. And this is a list of some of the important properties. So again, there are more than this. Now you can access the size of the current window, the position of the current window, what the parent window is, etc. The example that they gave up here, up right up above this, said it gets the pixels down and left from the top of the screen and the top left of the browser. All right. Now again, are these things that you're going to use often? It always, as always, it depends. And it depends on what it is you're trying to do and how you're going to be trying to do it. All right, so the window object properties. Are shown here. The window object methods are shown right here. All right. So there's the properties. And again, there are associated methods, all sorts of methods. Notice as an example right here, this opens a new browser window and it loads the specified URL. All right. Now, many of the things that are in here you should at least be familiar with, especially blur and focus, more than anything else. Because remember, especially if you're on an HTML form, for example, that when you click on a form element, you are initiating a focus. You are basically executing a focus method on that element. If you are on one form element and you click on another, you are initiating 2 methods. You are initiating a blur from the first form element and a focus to the second one. All right. For what's in here, we've talked about, for instance, you know what an alert is, you've used them. You know what a prompt is, you've used that. All right. So the ones I just mentioned are probably the most important ones. There's also a confirm, which again is it gives you dialogue with an OK button and a cancel. Most of the rest of these I think that are in here you probably understand. The only other ones I want to bring up are the set interval, set timeout, clear interval, and clear timeout. All right. If you set a timeout, imagine that you had an alarm clock that you set and it did not have a snooze on it. So you want to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Boom, that alarm clock rings at 6. You turn it off. There is no snooze on it or anything else. So it is a one-time shot. Well, in the same way, when you have a set timeout, it calls a function or evaluates an expression or it does something after a certain number of milliseconds. All right. So maybe you want maybe you're writing your own editor, and that And you want it set up so that if the person has been working on their stuff for an hour and they haven't saved, it'll automatically save. But that's the only time it'll save. On the other hand, with a set interval, it calls a function or evaluates an expression at intervals. That is like having a snooze button. So the alarm goes off, you hit snooze, 9 or 10 minutes later, it goes off again, you hit snooze, etc. That's an interval. And just like you can set timeouts in intervals, you can clear timeouts in intervals. All right, the browser has a location object. It gives you access to the current location in the browser. This allows you to access all the URL information as well as reload the current page or load a new one in the current window. With the example that they give right here, as it says, it gets the following URL from the current page and then loads a new page at a different URL. If the URL was linked to a specific anchor on a web page, you can get that portion of the URL using location.hash. And if you look up here, this is the middle of page 307 in the book, this is a list of the location properties and objects. The browser, in addition, has a history object. You probably already knew that. The history object is mentioned on the bottom of page 307, provides access to the browser navigation history, which allows you to move forward and backward dynamically without using forward and backward buttons. So if you want to navigate forward to the next URL in the history, you can use history.go, and they give an example here. This moves 3 URLs forward from where you currently are. All right. If you want to move backwards, you can use history.back, or you can use history.go and put a negative number in there. Again, these are shown on page 308 in the book. Stopping external links on a web page. This is one of the most important things that we'll talk about next semester. All right? You oftentimes do this in using jQuery. And what that means is, quite often that is associated with somebody who has something set up so that they're able, let's say that the normal action or reaction on the page would be you click a URL and you go to another website. Well, if you click a URL but you put prevent default there, then what it does is it disallows you from doing the default behavior, which would mean going to a different web page. Forcing links to open up in new browser windows. You probably have seen this. This is the key ingredient right here, _blank. And again, good netiquette says that if on your website, if you put in some code that opens up another website that isn't yours, good netiquette says that you open that up in a new window, because if it's open up in the window you're currently at, the user might think that that is part of your site, whether it is or not. All right, so there's a cookie exercise here on pages 309, 310, 311, 312, and the top of page 313. Cookies, as you should know by now, allow you to store bits of information statically in the client's browser. Now again, when we talk about cookies versus sessions, cookies store things on the browser, sessions store things on the server. All right? So often cookies are read by server-side scripts, but you can get and set cookies from JavaScript without having any kind of server communication. You can do that, as mentioned right here, by using the document.cookie attribute. Okay? Now, they mention in there that it's a string format that includes the name, the value, the expiration date, and the path in this kind of a format. And that's all true. But the only thing you really need is a name and a value. All right? The expiration date is, again, when you want the cookie to expire. And you can do weird things with this. For instance, you can set up a cookie and you can tell it that you want it to expire 1,000 years from now. Now, you won't be around to figure out whether or not that worked, but the point is you can do that. All right? And you can path. So you can say who has access, for lack of better words, to the cookie. So if we look at the example that's in here, and let's take, it's going to look like this, so let's take a look at it. So again, this will be our cookie from Chapter 11 now. All right. So cookie name, we'll call it first name. Cookie value, Jeff. All right, I've set the cookie. Get the cookie. Well, that's not doing very much, is it? It's not exactly showing you what it's shown in the book. And it makes me wonder if the actual code is put in there for this. So let's see. There's cookies.js. Looks like the stuff is in there. So let's go back and look at the other one here. js/cookies.js, that looks okay. And here is our call to jQuery, that looks okay. There's our display cookies function. It all looks like it should be okay. But something should be happening and nothing is. It's not reacting at all to this. All right, hopefully we'll get that fixed by the time class starts. All right, adding pop-ups. This should be basically all old hat to you. There's an alert. Notice there's just an OK button. There's a confirm with an OK and a cancel. And there is a prompt. Okay? And they explain these, but again, we've talked about these quite a bit of, So here, are you sure? Notice if response equal true, then do something. Else, don't do something. Well, you wouldn't even need the else if you're not going to do anything. All right. And the last thing that's discussed in here, with one more example, starting on page 315, is adding a recurring timer. Well, first is the delay timer. To delay the execution of code for a certain amount of seconds, use the set timeout with a code in the milliseconds where code is either a statement or a function call that will execute when the timer expires in ms number of milliseconds. So this will call the function myTimer in 10,000 milliseconds or in 10 seconds. At any point before the time runs out, you can clear the timer with clear timeout followed by the ID. You can also set a recurring timer. So again, it looks like this will be triggered every minute. It will check the status. And just like you can clear a timeout, you can clear an interval. Okay? So the last example, You create a simple web page that displays a clock and updates it on a per second basis. It also should pop up a notification every few seconds until you tell it to stop. All right, so the actual explanation is on 315, 316. The actual code is the bottom of page 316 and all of page 317. So let's take a quick look at that, and then we're going to put this to rest until we actually get into the classroom. So here's the clock. See that it is working. All right. Do you wish to continue to receive notifications? Sure. Next time it comes up, I'm going to say no. And I've got a running clock. That pretty much is it. What I am going to do, which I have not done yet, is I'm going to come back, not this second, but I am going to come back as soon as I can find wherever I have this. No. I've got it in here someplace as a zip file. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over not it. Let me just show you very quickly what I am going to go over, okay? All right, these jQuery examples that are right here. Save link as, save it to the desktop. jQuery examples. Okay, it says here that it's going to save it to the desktop. I think before I probably just saved it to the downloads folder. All right, but it'll be here sooner or later. I'm going to go through, in these examples, there are 3 different presentations that that talk about, I might have even mentioned them already. The first one will quickly go over talking about what HTML5 is all about, and then there's a couple more that will go through. Let's see, it's getting there. All right, there are a couple more that will go through talking about some stuff that will lead us in jQuery, for lack of better words. So there it is on the desktop. It's just about there. There it is. All right. So let me extract this, which will give me that file someplace on my messy desktop. Looks like here. And again, on here, there they are. I want to go over, when I get time, these 3 presentations. The first one, let's see. The first one you can see is fairly short, and it's just an intro into some basic HTML5 stuff. All right, the second one is a little bit longer, but not much, and it talks some more about some HTML5 stuff. And the third and last one is quite long, and it's about 100 slides, and it goes through a lot of the CSS selectors. So I'll be back with hopefully at least the first one of those shortly.